For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Good evening and welcome to Alpena City Council meeting October 6, 2014. Call the order, please.
Johnson? Here. Nielsen?
Here.
Nowak?
Here.
Sexton?
Here.
Walagora?
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you've had a chance to read the regular session minutes of September 15, 2014 and closed session of September 15, 2014. Any issues or changes? Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Okay, citizens bring before City Council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed a maximum of 5 minutes each to address your concerns. This is the only time during a council meeting that citizens are allowed to address council. If you do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records. Very good. Consent agenda this evening. A is bills to be allowed in the amount of $608,406.41. B is a mayoral appointment to the Alpena Retirement Board for a 4-year unexpired term expiring August 1st, 2018 is Michael Liske. C is one mayoral appointment to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a 3-year term expiring October 1st, 2017 is Joseph Garber.
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Nowak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Okay, one announcement this evening. Halloween trick-or-treat hours are from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Friday, October 31st, 2014 in the city of Alpena. Okay, number 8 is a city police officer's recognition, and Chief Jett will come up and proceed.
Good evening. On the evening of August 13, 2014, officers Marquardt, David, and Webster were dispatched to the municipal marina to investigate a report of a sinking vessel. Upon arrival, they discovered a moored craft with the transom just above the waterline. The 3 officers immediately boarded the craft and began bailing with 5-gallon buckets. The harbor master subsequently arrived on scene with bilge pumps, and the officers assisted with setting the pumps and making them operational. The harbor master estimated the officers had removed several hundred gallons of water by manual bailing and was very thankful for their continued assistance with the bilge pumps. Further, he reported the officers' actions prevented approximately 80 gallons of gasoline that was in the fuel tank from leaking into the harbor, which would have resulted in an expensive cleanup, reporting the incident to the Coast Guard spill response team, and other potential environmental damage. Their decisive actions demonstrated selfless service to the community, and these traits exemplify protect and serve and reflect highly upon themselves and the city police department. At this time, I'd like to have the officers report up front. Mr. Mayor, can you be so kind to step down for present the certificates? Tonight, the officers will be receiving the Chief's Commendation for their actions. Officer Timothy J. Marquardt.
Thank you, sir.
Officer Adam J. David. And Officer Ethan R. Webster. Well done. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, report of officers. We have a treasurer's financial report, July 31st, 2014 through August 31st, 2014.
We're just getting started in our new fiscal year, so I don't have too much to report. We should be at about 16.5% of our revenue and expenditures. Our revenue's at 42%, obviously, because we've collected most of our property taxes, about 75% of those. So that's one of our largest revenue sources. Our salaries and wages in parks, city hall, and cemetery are running a little on the high side. That's just because most of our work with our summer help is in the summer, so you're going to see a little bit of the labor go up at that time. And we also had to hire a temporary worker here at City Hall for payroll. We had somebody off on pregnancy leave, so a few things that we hadn't planned on. But overall, the general fund expenditures are still at 13.34 of expenses, which is over 3% under where we should be, so we're doing fine there. Just, the fiscal year, we'll see some positive and negatives. Our Blue Cross our premiums aren't going up as high as we thought they might, so that's a good thing. Our dental will stay the same until October of next year. That's another good thing. Unfortunately, our property and liability insurance may go up. We've just had another claim, so that may not be a good thing. And then our workers' comp also, we're struggling to keep those costs down. So some good, some bad. Does anybody have any questions that I can help you with?
And we just had more workman's comp claims than
Yes.
we expected.
Yep.
And that was in the past. That was, because I've seen that reported before. The workers'
It
comp.
went up, spiked very high, came back down, and now it's going to go back up because of more claims. Yes.
We've had 2 or 3 recent ones.
Okay.
that are
You have
new.
like a yearly safety training then, Greg? I
Um,
think that is,
We're working on that
okay.
in terms of, some of it's very difficult because you're dealing, a lot of it is with public safety and they're not in a set environment.
Exactly.
And so there are things I think we can do better in terms of training education, but there's still going to be those situations where you simply can't plan and things are happening. And that's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate the way it's been, but our intent is to work on it. We're also looking at what some other cities have done that have been able to keep their workers' comp rates down. And so we'll be gleaning off of those
Yeah.
where we can to see what they do.
Okay, yeah, that's always the best thing, I guess, to look for. Unless they just tell you that they're getting lucky or that they don't have any specific plan, you know, look somewhere else, but.
Any action on that? Karen?
Receive and file, please.
So moved.
Noack?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Thank you, Karen. Then we have the Step Forward Michigan program.
The Michigan Homeowner Assistance Nonprofit Housing Corporation was created in 2010 and oversees the Step Forward Michigan program. This program was designed to assist homeowners who have endured a financial hardship. The loan rescue portion of the program assists with past due property taxes. If a hardship occurs, the county treasurer contacts the city and gets the most current payoff amount, including any penalties and interest. The county treasurer then submits this amount and receives a one-time disbursement from Step Forward Michigan to pay toward the outstanding county and local property taxes. If the payment from the county does not reach the city before more fees are assessed, then the county asks the city to consider the payment as paid in full. County Treasurer Kim Ludlow contacted me to inquire as to whether the city would be interested in participating in the program. The county has participated in the program since March 8th of 2013. Alpena Township also participates. When approached by the county, the city was unable to participate because we were waiting for Bill, his legal opinion on whether we could waive the penalties and interest on past due taxes. And I have attached his opinion, which is formal council approval would be needed to waive the penalties and interest. And rather than wait until the next time the city is approached to participate in the program, I brought this before you now to either allow or disallow it. Only 3 residents have been processed through the program in Alpena County since March of 2013. The minimal amount of interest and penalties waived would be less than the cost to collect those taxes. And I recommend that we do participate in the program and agree to accept the payoff amount of taxes and interest and penalties, if any, as payment in full. And I just want to clarify, because it was difficult to write this without some long sentences, that if the county calls us and asks what the payment is due, if there are interest and penalties already on it, we give them that total amount. Then, if she writes the check and say it's 30 days, because she says it takes a little bit to get that check from the program, we're saying that's okay, we're not gonna put that next 0.5% on, which would be like for a $500 tax bill, $2.50. So we're saying we'll take, when we told you what was payment in full, that's what we'll accept from you. There might not be a whole lot of interest, like she said, there were only 3 last year. But it's a state program and they're just trying to help people. It's just a one-time application that someone can make. And in order to apply, they have to show that they can make future tax payments or house payments or whatever they're asking for on time. So,
Can they do this program and go to board of review both in the same year?
yeah, because it's a hardship. They're asking, this is and this is actually a loan to the owners. It's 0% interest if they pay it back. I think it was within 5 years.
I thought it was a forgivable.
I think it is forgivable.
Yeah,
Forgivable.
If you stay in the house.
Yeah, if it's a PR, principal residence. So this is just someone that may have gotten behind, had a hardship, they're asking for a little bit of help. So yeah, they probably could go to the Board of Review also.
And then the state actually makes us right then, as opposed to the board of review where we don't get it. And the state basically gives them the loan to pay
Yeah,
us.
so we're actually being paid.
This is
with
better.
this
Yeah, we
program.
will get
The city
paid.
is being
Yeah.
paid, but the issue is that if she gives them an amount of what they're due, and then they don't process this quick enough, and with the state, I'm surprised if it would be 30 days, but
Yeah.
let's say that it's longer and another 1.5% accrues, then when they do send a check, there's still an unbalance. There's
And we're
still a-
saying, yeah, we will
we
waive
could
that.
waive that. I guess the concern that I would have, and I haven't talked to Bill since he made his finding on this, is that we as a council, obviously, we can waive part of the charter, something that's in the charter. I was a little lost on that, so if you can expound on that, maybe.
The charter says the treasurer shall collect that 3% fee and then 1/2% each month thereafter that it continues to be delinquent. The state law provides for that, but a municipality, a local unit of government, doesn't have to collect that. Or you could make it 2%. I mean, the 3%, it's up to 3% and 0.5%. So you could make it 2% and 1/4% if you wanted to. It's the theory of the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, meaning that the charter can't be inconsistent with state law, but you have the authority to do something less than what it requires. You can't do more than what it requires. So council couldn't vote to say, we want to make it 4% because state law caps you at 3%. The other reason why you can do it is this particular initiative is a state-approved initiative, and the state funding is going to pay us off. The only thing we're waiving, if council decides to waive it, in theory, the only thing we're going to waive is that 1/2% in that month if we don't get paid within 30 days.
Right.
Now, they don't promise the payment within 30 days, but with the number of applications that we've had locally and the way the program is set up, it's more likely to be paid within that 30 days than not paid. We simply just don't have it. If they were processing 1,000 of them, it might be different. But the county has agreed to participate in it. The township has agreed to participate in it. It was my opinion that we should participate in it, but legally, the only way we can do that is if council agrees to waive that fee. Because the way the program works, we tell them what it is, that's what they're gonna cut the check for. If it gets there a day late, they're not gonna go back and cut us another check for that 1/2%.
That's fine.
Do you know how you would want, in the event, does anybody else have any questions? I just want to make sure that the motion is worded how you need it.
Yeah, and just a few things too. Kim did say it could be 30 to 45 days, so that's fine, we know that. It's just timing too on when somebody's gonna ask and when we're gonna receive. I mean, if it happens to be during the 3% penalty and we've given them that, that's fine, we'll get it. If it isn't, we would have to waive that. And also keep in mind that we only collect taxes 8 months in the city, and then they're turned over March 1st to the county. So it's only for 8 months every year that we would even consider the waiving it. So it's a very small amount, if any. And as far as the motion, I guess just you are allowing me to participate in the Step Forward Michigan program and accept payment as full from the county treasurer for any requests in the program.
So moved.
That's what I'm saying.
Second.
That's considered a waiving of the charter. I just want to make sure that.
That's
from your
sufficient.
point,
Yes.
That's sufficient, okay.
Okay.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson? Nielsen?
Yes.
Noak?
Yes.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody else? Now we have some bids, 2014 resurfacing. Rich?
On September 30th, 2014, the city received and opened bids for the 2014 resurfacing project, which includes 3rd and Lockwood parking lot, Brook Street, LaForest Street, 2nd Avenue, Emmett Street, and Lawn Street. Bid documents were sent to various firms, as well as posted on the city website with one bid received. The bid tabulation is attached. The single bidder for this project was Everett Goodrich Trucking and Asphalt Paving for the project total of $135,850. The bids for each street and parking lot came in lower than the budgeted amount, and with council support, the engineering department will evaluate a contract modification to use the remaining funds for the parking lot project to perform improvements at the parking lot across the street. Right now, we're doing the one behind the insurance center.
Alpena
Alpena Insurance. And then our next parking lot that we intend to do is the one across Lockwood. It looks like we've actually crunched the numbers. We may be able to get both of those done for the budgeted amount. We've got all the numbers from this bid that we've plugged in, plus we've got to get a couple of storm sewer numbers from our contractor just to make sure. But it looks like we should be able to accomplish both of those parking lots with those. But that being the case, we would come back to council for a contract modification on that. We are evaluating that, as well as looking at other streets that we can resurface. We've worked with Goodrich previously and have been very satisfied with the construction process and final product. After reviewing the bid, it is my recommendation to city engineer that city council award the contract for the 2014 resurfacing project to Everett Goodrich Trucking and Asphalt Paving in the amount of $135,850. And then, like I said, we will come back with a contract modification if we deem necessary, appropriate, to try to do that other parking lot as well.
So all you're looking for tonight is just approval of the contract itself? And the rest, you're just giving us a heads up on what you're looking to do? Okay, that makes sense.
The prices came in much better than we anticipated, and we're gonna be able to do a lot more work than what we had originally planned.
Okay.
Did we get any calls, Rich? I know you're real good at going out and asking the other companies sometimes, like, why we didn't get a bid. Was there a reason why other companies I know because this is the second time, to my knowledge, that Goodrich is coming in with an incredible price on this, that we were able to pave the parking lot behind the owl and do other work within the city because of that price. Any word from?
I suspect it was, our bituminous patching contractor is fairly small, aren't really geared up for this type of production paving. And it's not big enough to bring in the Elmers, the Rethrows. Plus Elmers has got their plate pretty full with a bunch of MDOT state work. So I'm not surprised that we only got the one bid.
Anybody got any other questions for Rich on that? Entertain a motion to,
I move we approve the resurfacing project with Everett Goodrich Trucking and Asphalt and Paving in the amount of $135,850 with the option of authorizing additional work for respect.
Second.
Walagora?
aye?
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Staying here for the street sweeper, Rich?
Our current city budget for the equipment fund includes the purchase of a replacement street sweeper, and we budgeted $190,000 for that purchase. To facilitate this purchase, the city of Alpena utilized the state of Michigan purchasing contract, My Deal. My Deal goes out and they issue bids for many different services and supplies. Our dump trucks, our plow trucks, we purchase them through the My Deal. We purchase some vehicles through the My Deal. And it's a authorized purchasing process through our purchasing policy. And in this case, Bell Equipment is the My Deal dealer for street sweepers. So any community in the state of Michigan can access and purchase through them at the prescribed cost per unit. So we contacted Clark Bushman of Bell Equipment for the pricing on the street sweeper to replace our oldest sweeper, which is equipment number 94, a 1999 Elgin Whirlwind model. After reviewing the various options for add-on equipment, the city selected those that were needed to replace the existing unit in kind with no additional equipment. The pricing of this new street sweeper is $228,176. This is $38,000, more or less, more than is in the current budget for replacement. Anticipating that this would be the case, staff did not spend the full allocation for the equipment purchases last year with the intention that those funds could be utilized to offset the overage for this year. Typically, Karen, when we go through the budgeting process, our target level is about $200,000 per year for equipment. And we know that there's gonna be pluses and minuses. We're not gonna hit 200,000 exactly. Last year, we had a very light year. The only thing we purchased was the beach cleaner for $34,000 out of that 200,000 we had allocated. We delayed some of our purchases, but we knew this year that that street sweeper was going to be fairly expensive. So thus sufficient funds are available in the equipment fund to do this. Bell Equipment also offered a $10,000 trade-in value for our old street sweeper. In discussing this with Sean McNamara, our DPW division head, he recommends that we accept the trade-in offer from Bell Equipment, which will reduce the initial purchase price to $218,760. It is my recommendation as city engineer that city council approve the purchase of a new Elgin street sweeper from Bell Equipment Company in the amount of $218,176. And just as comparison, when we purchased our old street sweeper back in 1999, the purchase price on that, I believe that was after trade-in, was $135,000. So, I mean, they've escalated in price dramatically, but I think 70, I remember it's 70, almost $79,000 of that purchase price is just for the truck chassis that the sweeper sits on. So we're buying that chassis, and they're basically taking it, putting the street sweeper unit on that, and getting it all set up as a street sweeping unit.
Rich, since this would effectively empty the equipment fund for this year, right? Where does this purchase rank on the CIP? I remember it being toward the top, right?
It is. It's one of our top ones. The old unit, actually, I believe it's this one, the DPW mechanics spent a good deal of time this spring rebuilding from basically the axle back, the frame on it, because it was pretty well rotted out.
What else do we have as an immediate equipment concern?
I can't answer that right off the top of my head without having that in front of me, but we've delayed our plow trucks, a couple of our plow trucks in the last year. Well, last year we delayed one because of wanting to purchase that beach cleaner. You know, it's, we've done a pretty decent job of staying on top of that. We do have some older equipment, but with the two mechanics there, we're able to keep it functioning. You know, and as an aside, I've kind of been tracking that, what we spend for maintenance activities in our equipment fund. You know, we're not seeing those escalating up. They're staying pretty constant all the way across the board every year. So it's not like our equipment's aging and we're spending a lot more money on those. And this is one of the bigger priorities, or top priorities from Sean that we have.
Sure, if you're only gonna get one present from Santa, you make sure this is the one you want, so.
Well, I think, and I think we still do have the 10,000 there for, I think, mowers.
Yeah, you got walk-behind lawnmowers,
Okay.
and then you got some dump trucks coming up in a few years, and then the big ones are the bucket trucks.
Yeah, and we're, you know, as an aside, we tried with bucket trucks, those are about 250. Is that what I got?
230.
230. We're working right now with Alpena Power to see if we can utilize one of their retired bucket trucks. And we actually retired one out this year that wouldn't really meet our needs. We looked at it. We'll have another one coming out next year. So those are things that we're going to do to try to, so we head off a $230,000 purchase.
The college might be retiring of one or two in the future here too.
And like I said, I think Alpena Power, I mean, they're all certified, they take extremely good care of their equipment. And that's things that we look at. And we're not using ours, well, past few years we've used it quite a bit, taking trees down, but it's not something we use every single day.
Yeah, I do. I thought I assume that you and Sean go over this quite regularly before you're gonna go out and spend over $200,000 on something, but I thought we did purchase a couple of lawnmowers and a tandem axle vehicle or a dually or something last year, but that was 2 years, must have been 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Okay, time's going by pretty fast, but, yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm okay with it because I have confidence in that's what you do, and you two together make those decisions, and I don't think that you would go out and use almost your entire fund on a street sweeper if you hadn't gone over everything else that you need, so comfortable with that.
It's a vital piece of equipment. I mean, just from the sewers and keeping all the streets clean, and then just for the leaf pickup and stuff like that. I've seen the old one making its rounds quite a bit over the last several days as well, so.
We actually run two different styles of street sweeper. We've got a mechanical street sweeper, which does a better job with picking up some debris. And then we have this vacuum style, which does a better job. You don't get the dust behind it like you will with a mechanical sweeper.
I move we approve the purchase of an Elgin street sweeper from Bell Equipment Company in the amount of $218,176.
Second.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye. Thank you, Rich. I'll check you up here for the next thing. We're gonna skip down a couple things. No communications, no unfinished business. We have new business, a resolution to support the Michigan Department of Transportation Category A grant application.
What this is, the city's been approached by a number of businesses located off from Commerce Drive, Long Lake Avenue area, that right now to service folks on this side of the river have to travel out Long Lake Avenue, Hamilton Wilson Road, back in on 23 to be able to service them. We have granted some variances. The most recent one was to Gilbert Concrete, when they were doing some pours out at the Myers site. We allowed them to traverse and basically violate that truck route because of the expediency of the turnaround time they need. We've been approached about potentially building some type of an access road between Long Lake Avenue and Johnson Street. And the city looked at this a number of years ago, and we started reevaluating it again when this request came in. And in conjunction with that, there's also the redevelopment of a parcel of property back in there that is moving forward. And I believe that was on the Brownfield agenda.
Yeah, and we have a meeting this week on that, and it will be before council in 2 weeks.
Basically, it's the redevelopment of O'Connor's property back in there behind where
Elrow Steel.
Elrow Steel was. And so there's that redevelopment. And right now, their only access is via an easement across these private parcels of property. We looked at all the different funding options, and these, we're looking at all the pots of money that we can access. One of them was the Michigan Department of Transportation Category A Economic Development Funds. I had a discussion with the representative from those funds, and they have a set timeline of getting the letter of interest in, and then getting an actual grant application in. Because of the timeline, I worked with Greg and we submitted a letter of intent, which is non-binding, just says that we are interested in doing this, and kind of spelled out what we were looking at as far as funding. And the nice thing is, with the Category A funds, within 10 days you get a response, whether you should continue and submit an application or not. We were notified within that timeline that we were tentatively approved to submit a full application for funding. Now, in this memo, I outlined that the city at this time has estimated the project cost at $1,219,000, of which the city is requesting $735,000 in Category A funding from the Michigan Department of Transportation. They told us that was probably a little more than what they might be willing to give us. And we're going to be down in the $150,000 to $175,000 range. That they would be willing to fund if the grant application is approved. And they were pretty open and pretty confident about it because of the industry, the target industry that is redeveloping the O'Connor property. So with that, the city will begin preparing the full application. And like I said, we are looking at other funding sources, MEDC, USDA Rural Development, we're selling cookies on the street corner, whatever we can do to try to find the funding to make this happen. But we would like a resolution by the city council supporting our application for a Category A grant. Like I said, in here it says $735,000. It's actually going to be, in the $150,000 to $175,000 range. Doesn't commit us to accept it, doesn't commit us to take it. It just authorizes us to proceed forward with the application process.
Yeah, like I say, since there's so many pieces to this pie, we're not sure if it's gonna come together as a pie or not. And, but this grant application's due by the 15th, which is prior to the next council meeting. It's the earliest one of those that we will be applying for, so we just wanted to at least go ahead, apply for that funding, and we'll see if the others fall into place or not. Also from USDA, they do have a low-interest loan program that we're looking at as well for perhaps part of the balance. But we're going to go after other sources as well. It's kind of like when we did the trailhead. We scoured and got every Tom, Dick, and Harry to contribute to the project to make it work, and that's basically what, we'll be doing here, hopefully, and if it does succeed, it would be after July 1st of next year construction. We think it will be beneficial on two fronts. One, what Rich said, with existing contractors, is providing a shorter route across the city from one side to the other. The other being that not only does it benefit the proposed business going in there, and they are part of the application there, they will be on others as the project, but I think it makes the other lots there that are still vacant more redevelopable. If we have a public road that they know is going to be maintained by the city, will be plowed in the winter and so forth, and we think it will, as a result, benefit everybody. Plus, by getting a paved road in there, some of the complaints of property owners on Long Lake Avenue of dust and vibration of going where trucks have gone over the rough ground, where in the past they've used it as a cut through, that will all be eliminated because we would have a Class A paved road.
Any reason, I'm sorry. Okay, any reason why if your estimate was that significant, and I understand why, because we talked before about you want to do it right and make sure that you have all the drainage and the water and sewer and whatnot. But why would the MDOT grant offer so little? Are they out of money, or do they not see a lot of value in the project, or?
They target, in most of their other Category A grants that they've authorized, he said that they've averaged about $4,000 per job. Because we are in Northeast Michigan, they don't have a lot of applications up here, we don't have a lot of the economic development, that they are willing to go, $10,000 per job. And we're talking about 15 jobs. So he said he was comfortable in that 150 to 175,000. So with this one, I believe it's MEDC.
They're the same way. They'll be $10,000 per job, is how they set a max for the grant.
Okay.
USDA really isn't so targeted on jobs. At the most, they'll give 100,000, but they say they usually get more requests than money, so they approve it, which very likely they will, but they'll probably say you're going to get more like 75,000. They simply pare it back. So we're kind of looking at hopefully about 75 from USDA, and we have a meeting tomorrow with the MEDC to talk about that grant, which would be another 150. Those first two, the MDOT and MEDC, are all job creation based, and that's why you have to have a project, and that's why when we looked at this 7, 8, 10 years ago, I know Rich and I talked, and I went through and did research, and he did on the MDOT end, and we needed a project, and we didn't have one. So there was no way to even consider, the project at that time, because we didn't have them. Even then, it was probably $1 million or close to it to build a road like that. So now we're trying to put together many pieces of the pie, which in the past we usually didn't have to do. If we had, one or so grant, usually a grant, we could take care of the rest, but that's just not the case anymore.
And it's, the $1.2 million is not just the road. That's sewer, water, all the way, running water all the way through up to Long Lake Avenue to replace the existing 4-inch that exists in there, and then to bring sanitary sewer up to replace a 6-inch line that meanders across private property to service that target business. So our actual road construction is in that $650,000 to $700,000 range. I think it was 735 was our original estimate. We've since that, after I found out that they weren't gonna give us 735, we started putting the road on the diet and trying to, get it pared down as much as we can. We were at about $650,000 for the road itself.
But it's important to also include the sewer and the water. One, if you're gonna develop those, and you don't wanna put those in later after the road. You wanna do it beforehand and then put the road on down and not the other way around. So, if we're gonna do it, we wanna do it right the first time and not have to be going back.
How long do you have to pull these dollars together?
I think they're 2-year grant cycles, 2 years after we've received approval. But if we're in process and we've got everything in place, but we can't have, I'm sure we'd get some time extensions. But right now, our target is, if everything falls into place and the sun shines on us appropriately, we will be under construction in September of next year, if everything falls into place.
We are gonna have to have donation of right-of-way. We're not looking to acquire right-of-way, so, we're gonna be going to the various property owners, not only the ones that are the industrial side, but probably where the soccer fields are, to get some there. Not much, it won't impact where their fields are or anything like that. And we're looking at fencing along there anyways to protect, those soccer fields from the roadway. But that's all part of what we have to still negotiate in that. And that does count towards the match, the value of that right of way. And also the engineering department's time, for designing it, and then, they won't be actually overseeing the, inspections and that. It'll be like Grant Street. This will be an MDOT project, which they'll bid out, and we'll have to hire, an outside inspector.
You have, by a swipe of the pen, you go from being able to inspect a job to not being able to inspect a job because you haven't gone through their 2-month-long course and how to do paperwork.
So,
Hey, Reg, I appreciate staff anytime we try to get grants, and all that makes sense. And I appreciate trying to work with trucking companies to try to find them a better alternative. It is my understanding that you have truck routes in the first place to try to avoid high-traffic, high-pedestrian areas. If we reroute the truck route into Johnson Street, we're rerouting it into the highest pedestrian, highest travel area we probably have in town. Because those trucks, once they hit Johnson, are gonna have to go, one way or the other. Just cut them through the middle of a college campus just seems like a bad idea to me. I mean, we have 2,000 students, faculty, travel that road. Johnson cuts the college in half, so there's already a pedestrian crosswalk where pedestrians have the right of way. I just can't imagine bringing trucks through Johnson, cutting through that campus and all that traffic is the best place to do it. If you go the other direction and you're hitting those soccer fields, on any given night, you've got, however many kids coming in and out of there. So, I agree with everything you're doing here, but to take them from Johnson and run from the proposed road down Johnson to 23 through the middle of that campus just seems like it's counterintuitive to what truck routes are usually meant to do in the first place.
Johnson Street is a designated truck route. And it does exist as such. But it gives them the ability to, if they're going north, they could go up Johnson, past the college. If they're going south or to 32, it would give them the ability to go down to 9th Avenue and cross 9th Avenue Bridge and then hit 11th Avenue or come down to 32. Continue. So, it's not, no matter what we do, no matter how we try to do it, it's going to impact somebody. I know that the mayor has set in on some of those meetings with the truck drivers.
I have, and I guess to address that, concern a little bit is that, we're not talking about a huge volume of trucks that are utilizing or asking for that route. Certainly, I doubt if any of them would really even be working during soccer hours. But when the kids are playing soccer, like Greg said, protection with them, with the fences and things is already been kind of talked about a little bit, but really, we're not talking about the hours that they would be playing anyhow. But right now, like Rich pointed out, Johnson Street is part of the truck route, and so the concern is your businesses that are on Long Lake Avenue, and from what I understand from listening to them is that, let's say, if you're familiar with Clem's, so if Clem's Bait and Tackle wanted those businesses to deliver him some gravel, they would basically have to leave a business right near our city depot there, where you drop off your leaves and brush, well, it used to be brush, and they would have to go travel away from town all the way down Long Lake Avenue to Hamilton Road, to US 23, to Johnson, and then they would be able to leave the truck route at its shortest distance to deliver to Clem's, and then turn around and get back on. So you're talking about 14 miles round trip out of your way, and somebody's got to eat that cost when they were basically just looking for a more cost-effective way to be able to deliver from their businesses on that side of town to downtown and residential businesses. So that route had sort of already been there to a certain extent. There was some usage at one time just by a couple of businesses. There was some issues with dust and complaints from residences, so the city blocked off what would be Elm Street at the top of your picture. Elm Street is that picture that's in our packet runs about the distance of that building right there that's owned by Omni, and then Elm stops, and the rest of it is just, it's just quite frankly just a path that was established over years. And so through some meetings, and I was kind of surprised that, you look at all the business property that's available back there, and there's really no access to it. So you would almost wonder how someone would expect to come in and put in either, whatever these businesses tend to be, if they're successful with the business that's buying O'Connor's property. And you kind of look and you say, as a city, not only should we do something for them, but we really should listen and try and help the businesses and the trucking companies that have already been here for quite some time, and they're established, and we've seen a couple of them come in to our meetings here already. And so to just try and help them, and this was a plan to try and show that we have some concern for the businesses that have already been here. And like I said, it shouldn't really disrupt too much that's already going on, because those trucks would come around and come down Johnson and go through that area already anyhow, so.
I think two other points is, one, I think if this road's built, a lot of the traffic you're gonna see on it isn't necessarily gonna be trucks. It'll be people who, in essence, you'll see probably somewhat of a reduction of just regular auto traffic, perhaps in some areas of Long Lake farther south, because people will use this to cut across rather than going Walnut to Long Lake and north. The other is since the fire especially that destroyed Alro Steel, Thunder Bay Moving, and the other building back behind that was a wood products building, we've looked at trying to get this land redeveloped, and it is zoned industrial, still is, was then, still is. We did some environmental work on part of it, tried to get the other property owners involved in that to try to actually market it as a single piece, but could never get them. And now things are just happening on their own. That middle piece that the one company, which is basically a brewery looking to go into the former Great Lakes Excavating building, now is also looking at buying the property next to it, which was destroyed in the fire. So they're enlarging that area. They want that for some parking. And it opens up some of that other for development, which has always been our goal. Otherwise, it's just been kind of a no man's land because of lack of proper access. So there are pluses and minuses on that. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And The amount of trucks, I mean, until we really blocked it off, it was occurring anyways, some of that traffic, because it was going down Johnson and then cutting across to Elm to Long Lake or the other way around. If it's going to happen, we'd rather have it on a properly developed street that we can not only maintain, but we can also enforce the appropriate traffic laws on. And again, there's no guarantee that this is going to happen. This is just the very beginning of trying to see if we can put all the pieces together.
Well, what happens if you can't get the money, if you can't get enough
Then-
grant money?
Yeah, then the project will come to fruition.
And it'll just stay the way it is?
You know,
Well,
The other thing, I mean, the other option we've got is potentially developing part of the road pack to service this target industry.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be another option, and then with the intention that maybe in the future it could be extended.
Is there grant money, or is the idea to develop this area for these new businesses that want to purchase property and develop the area, meld those dollars with these dollars that you already have, you can already capture, along with your in-kind dollars? Is the idea just to meld all of it together and get it done? But you're not sure if the new businesses will be able to come up with enough? Okay,
well,
I get it.
the new businesses are basically just, what they're contributing is their capital for their business, which is part of the grant, and the job creation.
Exactly,
Then, and that we're not concerned about.
right.
I mean, they have made that commitment. They're gonna have to commit in writing on these grants. And we've talked with them, and they're comfortable with the level of commitment they're going to make. But it's still putting all those other pieces together from each one of these different grant sources to see then what we can do. The dollars aren't there like they were a few years ago when we would get $1.6 million to do Fletcher Street, or close to $1 million, I think, when we did Woodward Avenue. It was $750,000 to $1 million when I first got here to do that street, up to the railroad tracks. They're just not giving those kinds of large sums out anymore. They would look at $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, even $50,000 a job. Now it's $10,000. And unless you got a large, company coming in, when it's smaller businesses, you're only gonna get a limited amount of grant dollars.
So basically what we're doing is we're using, it's got a threefold purpose, and improvement for the existing businesses that are, better access to that side of town. Improvement of this particular area that is zoned industrial to not only about a business that is interested in coming in there, but development of the other products. And then a little bit more of a throughway for car traffic, more or less. Just-
Right, it will be a general use
Yeah.
street as well by anybody who wishes to use it.
So tonight's action basically is not approval of the project per se, it's more or less an action to just support of, let's go after this grant.
Right.
I'll say it again, so I won't have to say it later. Webster uses that road, the college uses that road, the Aplex, Northern Lights Arena, to a lesser degree the hospital. It's already heavily trafficked, and I just think we're gonna create a different set of problems. We have problems with the route now, we can go through this process, and I think, again, funneling all the semi-traffic into a pretty heavily trafficked area, plus all the pedestrians, we're just gonna have a different set of problems later.
Entertain a motion, if you will, or no one, or anything?
I move that we approve the resolution supporting Category E grant application in the amount of $735,000.
Well,
Probably $175,000.
Whatever you can get.
Does that need to be part of
Right.
it? Do you need that amount in there, or does it matter?
Yeah, we will.
In the motion itself, okay.
Anything else we need added to that?
At this point in time, it's strictly authorizing us to pursue this grant application.
That's what I want to understand.
Second.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
No.
Walagora?
Yes?
Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Oh, you're gonna stick around, aren't you?
We got a couple more to go.
Just a couple more to go. These are easy.
Custodial services contract renewal?
We bid the custodial services for various city facilities out in 2010 and awarded that to Superior Image Cleaning, allowing it for it to be renewed for 2 additional one-year periods. Rachel Gulish, the owner and operator of Superior Image, has indicated her desire to renew the contract for a one-year period with pricing remaining the same. It's my recommendation to city engineer, city council review the custodial services contract for Superior Image Cleaning with prices remaining the same as 2014.
This is the last renewal,
I believe so. I don't know off the top of my head, I believe so.
because I would assume,
It
yeah.
was a 3 or 4 year contract initially.
I move we approve the contract with custodial services, Superior Image Cleaning, the pricing remaining the same as 2014 pricing.
Second.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yep.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson? Nielsen?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Soda vending contract renewal?
These are the soda vending machines that are throughout various parks and city facilities. And that project was bid in 2011, awarded to Pepsi Beverage Company. With the contract allowing it for it to be renewed for one additional 3-year period. The food service sales representative for Pepsi Beverage Company has indicated their desire to renew the contract and provide the attached pricing. In the previous contract, the city was paid 25% commission on the first 800 cases sold and a 30% commission on anything over 800 cases sold. Pepsi Beverage Company is proposing to just make it a one-tier, provide us 30% per case, independent of the volume sold. It's my recommendation to city engineer and the city council renew the soda vending contract with Pepsi Beverage Company for the commission percentage proposed.
So moved.
Second.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora? Johnson? Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Thank you, Rich, for all of that. And we've got resolution number 2014-10, a resolution to support the Alpena Wildlife Sanctuary Interpretive Center. Adam Paul?
All right, 1985, the council delegated management and preservation of its 500-acre wildlife sanctuary, including the 17-acre island park, to the Alpena Wildlife Sanctuary Board, volunteer board dedicated and impassioned and community citizens. Small group has worked tirelessly with limited resources to educate the general public on the value and importance of the sanctuary in our community. In the late 90s, the board began develop a vision for the creation of a wildlife sanctuary and interpretive center, a permanent facility housing interactive exhibits and classroom laboratory space to better support the educational mission of the board. The proposed interpretive center would be dedicated to building a healthier Thunder Bay river habitat and promoting environmental stewardship through education and research. The proposed interpretive center is planned to be approximately 15,500 square feet in size. 15,500 square feet if I can read, and be LEED certified. Earlier this year, in partnership with NOAA, the Wildlife Sanctuary Board was able to display exhibits for the interpretive center at the Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center. The Sanctuary Board is continuing to seek grants to construct the interpretive center at the proposed location within the Wildlife Sanctuary. To better qualify for these grants, the Wildlife Sanctuary Board is requesting a resolution of support for the proposed interpretive center from the City Council. The City Council has previously made a motion of support in February of 2008, but there was no resolution requested at that time.
So essentially, the hope is this will help in the grant process,
Correct,
so to
right.
speak, right?
Right now, they're looking for a feasibility study, and they're actively applying for a grant for that. And basically with that, if they get a grant for the feasibility study and they get that study completed, they'll be able to utilize that and say, and proof of concept and say, hey, this really does, it's gonna work here. Or it's not, one way or the other, they'll find out.
It's one of those things I wish we had the money to support a long time ago, you know, to actually support it financially, so I'd certainly be happy to write a resolution for them, or anything else we can do.
I'm sure the board, the sanctuary board would be more than happy with that, because actually we did that at one time, when the motion was made, and money was started to be put aside, up to $250,000, because of the fact that it will be a city-owned facility when it's built. Unless there was a way, we'd have to work with Bill of somehow with the sanctuary becoming like a nonprofit and owning it, and operating it for the city. But, so if you want to, unfortunately with the budget cuts, that was cut off, and then eventually it kind of just cut away at that until there no longer is any money there. So more than happy as budget comes along to look at reestablishing that commitment. But we know, the board understood why it happened the way it did. And right now, I think they're going about it in the right direction with the leadership they have and with the people they have and how they're going about it. I think we have a much better chance in the long run, if it isn't deemed feasible, of getting the funding that will be needed.
They are very dedicated and work very, very hard, and we all receive benefit from that group. We do. If you're on that river at all, or on the paths, or on, especially on Island Park, it is, and the River Rats is a phenomenal program for children. So I hope we will be able to help these folks in any way, especially financially.
I mean, we adopt a resolution of support for the Alpena Wildlife Sanctuary Interpretive Center.
That'll be resolution 2014-10.
2014. Could have made that easier.
Actually, I think it was Susan.
I gotta read that.
Yeah.
I have to read that, do I?
No.
Bill never does.
You want to read that?
I can read it if you'd like.
Yeah.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes,
Thank you, Adam.
we'll be adjourned to closed session.
Johnson?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
You are watching All About Alpena.